In the business and busyness of school life, I missed my stillness. You may not realize this, because so many of you see me like this. But I am an off-the-scale introvert. I have mad coping skills. But in college, just by way of example, I took Calc 2 independent study, and I loved it. I love to sit still and think until I understand. On sabbatical, having the luxury to make space for the still, small voice in the deep, deep silence. Now that was peace. Now some of you, I see, are finding your stillness in your phones and your texting. But I suppose we find it all in different ways. I did travel some. I went west. I reflected on place and how our sense of place influences our value of land and our value of resources and of the people all around us. And my professional product is a growing vision of what I'm currently calling a sustainability laboratory. This Prezi, represents a growing vision that I have for a comprehensive approach to science. Anchored around the concept of sustainability. The word comes from the Latin sustenere, which means to hold up. Sustainability is at the core of most efforts at missions, development, long-term problem solving in so much of our world. I won't detail it all here. Much of this whole presentation is educational theory, best practices, some marketing thrown in. But I show you this here in chapel, not so much to explain this vision of stewardship, but to illustrate some of the personal growth that happened during my time away. You see, I remembered that this is how I think. This is my brain. This is how I process the world. And in the busyness of school life, I lost track of that. Disregarded maybe and hidden away this part of myself. This integrated way of looking at the world. This gift. In the scripture I read earlier, the Israelites were instructed to bring the first fruits of their harvest to the temple. A temple that had not yet been built, in a land that had not yet settled. They did not know the end from the beginning. They were just told, bring your first fruits. Now, there are 3 or 4 really good sermons in here, and I'm not going to preach them today. I just want to draw your attention to the what and why as I see them, and let you chew on them for a while. First fruits. First fruits are the first of the harvest. We are stewards of the gifts we have, stewards of the lands we have been given, the gifts, what might develop out of them. Those are our first fruits. They are precious because they are first. Before you know that you will have more, and before you know that there will be plenty. This might be the only fruit I get, and we're instructed to bring that to the altar. It's precious because it's first. Your first fruits are also the best that your land produces. They're not the dregs, and they're not the iffy bits, and they're not what happened, you happen to come along. They're the best that you can bring. They took work to bring, work to bring to fruition. You don't just happen to get first fruits. You work at it. They are your best. First fruits are the best you have to offer. There's no comparison. It's not a competition. You don't compare them to your neighbor's first fruits. They're your best. But what is perhaps most important to me is this why that we bring these gifts. Why we bring what we are stewards of. And in this story, we see that we bring them to tell the story. To tell the story of God's faithfulness. It's not about me. My gifts are not about me. It will take me a while to digest and interpret that bit. I only started thinking about first fruits as I prepared for chapel today. I told you it didn't grow the way I thought it would. I met with my friend and pastor and asked for her thoughts on and insights on stewardship. Because I confess that the word stewardship and steward and being a steward, in my line of study, it gets so used so often that it stopped meaning anything to me. Steward of the land, the one who doesn't own it, you take care of it while the master is gone. I had heard those, but I wanted to learn something through this chapel, and this is what I learned. You bring it to tell the story of God's faithfulness. The thing is, we don't always want to bring our gifts. Maybe my first fruits aren't good enough. Maybe someone else's first fruits are shinier. They're better. They're more. And I don't want people to laugh at them because they're precious to me. Even if I don't want to show them off, they're precious. Someone might ignore it. I might put it out there and nobody notices. Or someone might notice and laugh. Or maybe I don't bring them because I don't want them to be transformed. God has a way of doing that. Changing things. We don't always like change. And maybe I don't bring them because I secretly think they're really, really good, but I don't want anyone to think I'm proud. So I shouldn't show anybody. I'll just keep them to myself. And maybe I just don't want to put in the work that it would take to bring them to fruition, to make them grow. I know I could, but, I don't want to risk them not being what I thought they might be, these gifts. So this new insight connects me to this ongoing growth from my sabbatical that has to do with dusting off gifts I had ignored or hidden. And some of that has to do with being still and thinking. It's not real shiny. And I know I do it well. When we can be still, when I can be still, I sometimes understand things in a way that helps others understand them. And I should bring my first fruits of that to the temple to help tell the story.